So I'm going to be honest with you guys. I had some major technical difficulties as I tried to do this a second ago. For you that may just be watching this for the first time, you'll have no idea what I'm talking about outside of what I'm sharing with you. But needless to say, these two beautiful beings in front of me had to deal with it. So thank you guys for your patience. But let me get into the intro and see if this actually works this time. Hello to all you beautiful, wonderful, unique beings. It is Tuesday, December 5th, and we're here to talk sports. Yeah, we're going to do this every Tuesday. We're going to show love to all y'all that are watching on YouTube on a regular basis. We appreciate the live watching and the communication. So definitely communicate with us in the chat. I will be looking over there. So at times, if I'm not looking at the screen, I'm looking at your chat, so say whatever you have to say. Farkas, you are not allowed in there anymore. But anyway, now to introduce the most dominant tag team from the East, the brains of the group, our number cruncher. He's the advisor. Sam, how are you?
I'm just here, so I won't get fined.
Why are you stealing my line?
No, what's up, man? Hey.
Okay, I'm done with him already. I'm just here so I won't get fined. And we have somebody here that is not going to get fined regardless because he's just here. Harrison, how you doing, man?
I can't be fined. I have no money in my wallet, so you're not getting anything anyway. I'm excited to be here. Excited to be on for a bit more permanent basis. So, let's get it going.
I love how Harrison dropped the bomb on y'all because he will be here more. So we appreciate that. If you haven't listened to any episode with Harrison before, take the opportunity to go back and listen. It's always a good time. But this is episode 117 of the Chasing Points podcast. That is such a surprise that you guys can still hear me clearly. But yeah, now let's just get into this. There's a lot of stuff that we are going to get to today. We have a bunch of news for the NFL. Some big games that happened this week, so we'll touch base on our dubs and our L's, of course. Just putting it in there, the Eagles are one of my L's. That hurts. Power rankings, of course. Listen, Jets fan, relax. Power rankings will come up. We have Week 14 picks. We also have a little commentary on the in-season tournament for the NBA. I know we haven't talked about it much. College football, we finally have what the playoffs look like, and it's very, very interesting. And we're definitely going to round it out with some baseball. Some like arguably the best player in the league, depending on who you're talking to, little Shohei. But let's just get to the top of this. Gentlemen, first and foremost, what stuck out to you guys this Sunday, if anything?
I'll let Harrison go. He's the...
For me, it was kind of the way the 49ers dominated. They obviously the premier matchup of the weekend, 49ers Eagles, big game on Sunday afternoon. For me, it was them, how they kind of showed out, kind of gave it to the Eagles really, really well. So kind of them kind of showing, improving was huge for me this weekend.
Okay. Sam?
Yeah, I'd say, that was clearly the must watch game and of the weekend and arguably of the season. So it was interesting how that unfolded, and we'll talk plenty about that, but I thought the Dolphins were really impressive. The Packers on Sunday night were impressive, and and the Cowboys on Thursday. I know it was a few days ago here, but that was a fun game to watch. And I read that was
Sunday, Sam. I didn't say Thursday, Sam. I said Sunday.
It's part of the week.
Most streamed game ever, or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah,
that was cool.
Yeah, well, the streaming seems to be adjusting every week, and that's definitely thanks to YouTube, because it's definitely reaching people throughout the world for sure with that, because it's not just confined to DirecTV. So it makes sense that it correlates to that. I agree with both of you. Definitely the Eagles-Niners game, where the Eagles basically stayed in the locker room that whole entire game because they did not show up on the field. But we'll definitely get into that for sure. So since we're talking about the Eagles, I found something that I saw that was very, very interesting, and it's been circulating now. I know it's been talked about throughout the season of potentially banning the brotherly shove or the tush push or whatever the hell you want to call it. But now it's come out that Roger Goodell wants this to actually be banned from football. So before I give my thoughts, Gentlemen, what are your thoughts on if this is true? Yeah, obviously, we do not have it confirmed. Roger did not confirm it or not yet himself. But if this were to be true, what are your thoughts on him wanting to ban this one play?
I guess my question would be why? Is it a question of safety? I know like Jason Kelsey's got to go down and then like, Hurts on top, it's clearly could be very dangerous. Is that the reason? Or is it just because no one else can stop it and they want more than just, that? Because no one had a problem with Tom Brady.
Andrew Brees.
Just doing this for 20 years. So that was, that would be what first comes to mind for me.
Yeah, that's my question as well. Like, has anyone been hurt from this yet?
The only person, so I wouldn't say anybody's been hurt per se. What happened in that Eagles, was it the Eagles Bills game? I forgot the gentleman's name that kept going over and drove one of the linemen into the ground, and it's like they threw a penalty, they threw a flag or whatnot, and like I could see it being something pertaining to that, but there's so many teams that have tried the tush push or the quarterback sneak, which it technically is, and haven't got hurt. Like, and to Sam's point, Kelsey gets so low on to the ground to push that pile, and he doesn't even get hurt. So I need to know why this would be something, to your gentleman's point, why this would be something to do that, because it makes it feel as if you're targeting one team that's perfected it, right, at this point in time, because teams have done it throughout the whole season or since the Eagles really started doing it and gained popularity in this aspect, and they're the only ones to do it on a consistent basis. So I just want to know what is the reasoning. That's my only thing.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I mean, obviously, if it was successful all the time, every team would do it. So
correct.
Obviously, the Eagles have the tools to be able to do it and do it well. And I'm sure it's a copycat league. Everyone wants to do what's successful and what's working well. And I'm sure they've all tried to implement some type of tush push or brotherly shove or whatever you want to call it. So it kind of seems that we're just singling out one team because they do it well, especially taking into account there haven't been a ton I'm just as confused as you are as to why it's a preference for Roger Goodell to want to get rid of it, other than the success that the Eagles are having with it.
Agreed. Sam, you look like you had something to say.
Yeah, I don't know what the answer is. I'm reading something. Diana Rossini of The Athletic speculated that it's important to know that there isn't a single person from the Eagles on the competition committee either.
Yep.
So 3 of the division opponents, John Mara, Stephen Jones, obviously, who COO of the Cowboys, and Ron Rivera are all on the competition committee. So I just read that. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but the Eagles, it's an unstoppable play. What's the success rate on that? Like
92%. 92%.
That's crazy.
Of the time. 92.
I mean, it's so important that we're leading the podcast with it instead of the Eagles getting, beat. So I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, dude, but
see,
they're not going to ban it now. So
Sam's friends again. See, this is why I go at Sam like this, just so you're listening.
I'm just
again.
Saying,
okay,
look, yeah,
dude, I am just saying the 49ers throttled the Eagles, and we're talking about the tush push to start the podcast. I'm just saying, throwing it out there. Don't give me the Eagles. Hey, I picked Jalen Hurts to win MVP. I picked the Eagles to go to the Super Bowl. I've been with you the whole way. We argued about Herbert and Hurts. That's it. I'm on your side, bro. I just don't know why we're talking about it.
So, Sam, you talk about it then.
I don't want to talk about it.
No, now you want to talk about it. So now you talk about it, Sam.
I want to talk about.
No, you want to talk about the Eagles Niners. So talk about the Eagles Niners.
I will. I'll talk about the 49ers
right now. Let's go.
I am. You're interrupting me. They come into Philly. That they ran their mouth all off season. Debo ran his mouth about if Brock Purdy was healthy, blah, blah, blah. A point that I think is, yeah, sure, but it didn't happen. So let's not talk about it. And You know, I think Debo waved goodbye way too many times, but you know, they came into a really hard place to play, and they looked really good. I think it kind of goes to show that, and we talk about this every week. Any team can be beat this year is really weird. Your Eagles have been beat by one of the better offenses, if not the second or best offense in the league. I don't know, top whatever. And they've also been beat by the Jets. So it just kind of shows that like it's not so much like a ding as it is in like college football, right? Like if Alabama or Michigan or one of these powerhouse teams lost to a really crappy offense team overall, we'd be like, you know, when we'll get into it with the competition committee and all that crap. But you know, it just kind of shows that it's a really volatile league, and there's, you know, these are two of the better teams. I would be a little concerned about the Eagles defense. They just had a huge acquisition in getting Shaq Leonard, who, if healthy, is one of the best middle linebackers. Is he a middle linebacker? One of the best linebackers in football. So that's definitely encouraging for sure. So yeah, I want to talk about the 49ers and the Eagles.
Yeah, I wouldn't count an indictment on the Eagles.
Yeah.
Very, very good team. I just think the 49ers are also a very, very, very good team. And on this day, they had the Eagles number. And I hope we get that matchup again.
Yeah. It just shows like every Monday at the whole sports world's like, what's wrong with the Bengals? And then the Bengals get fixed, you know, before Burrow gets hurt. What's wrong with the Bills? And then even though the Bill, and we weren't on last week, and even though that was a classic game, that Bills Eagles game, you know, it showed a different side of this Bills team. What's wrong with the Cowboys? Cowboys can't beat, you know, good teams, and that teams look really good. So just, you know, I'm not too high or low in general, and I think this, you know, I think it says more for the Niners than it does the Eagles, but they're still in the driver's seat. It's their number one seed to lose.
It's who's number one seed to lose?
The Eagles, clearly, because they're in control.
So since Sam wanted to talk about this, we're talking about this, and the Eagles absolutely did not show up to that game whatsoever. It's just like what the Cowboys did. They did not show up to the game against the Niners, or what we should be talking about at this point in time. Maybe just the Niners are just that good, but also it's the regular season, right? Yeah. So I know there's a lot of talk, especially from last year, and I've spoken to a couple Niners fans and some that I absolutely love to talk to about their team and are realistic. And one of my buddies said, well, I said, congratulations for the win. And it was just like the beginning of the fourth quarter. And he was just like, congratulations for what? And I was just like, the win. And he was just like, but it's just the regular season. And I was like, well, I'm glad. I respect you for saying that, because you could have went and said something completely different. But he was like, if this was the playoffs, then I would have been absolutely ecstatic. He said, but you guys beat us in the playoffs when it counted. This is a regular season game.
Yeah, totally.
But it counts for something, obviously, because it's still, there's four teams in contention for that number one seed. You have the Lions, you have the Cowboys, you have the Niners, and you have the Eagles, and they're all separated. I mean, the Eagles have still a leg up because they've only lost 2 games, where the Niners lost 3, Cowboys lost 3, and Lions have lost 2 at this point.
9-3.
3.
No, they're 3-2. So this game against the Cowboys this Sunday is going to be a huge game.
Huge.
For what this playoff run looks like, because that number one seed is looking more and more valuable than it's ever looked to me, especially with those 4 teams, because they are looking pretty damn unstoppable. To touch on the Eagles defense, you talked about Shaq Leonard. Shaq Leonard really hasn't been himself due to the injuries. Mm-hmm. If he can somewhat be a shell of himself, it will be better than whatever the hell the Eagles put out there at linebacker on Sunday, because that was non-existent. It's funny that also Deebo Samuel talked about Bradbury being trash, and the Niners didn't target him once in the whole entire game, which is so funny. Not because they didn't feel they couldn't beat him, but they attacked Slay and they attacked the linebackers, and it seemed to have worked out extremely, extremely well for them. And so I have a question for you. So do you think it's time to put respect on Purdy's name?
I think I know Brandon. We've been aligned with this all year.
I'm no longer aligned with you on anything.
That's like the line of the year on this podcast. That's great. Look, he's, you people want to knock him. He's a system guy. He's in an incredible system. I think clearly there are way more talented quarterbacks out there. I think just the marriage of Brock Purdy and Shanahan and knowing the system and knowing what to do and how Kyle wants to play, call a game and what to do here. Clearly, Trey Lance, I think, is a much more talented quarterback, but Brock Purdy is the one in the driver's seat that can drive this Formula One car down the track. I'm all about Brock Purdy. I have been. He's in the MVP race for good reason, and it'll be interesting to say.
And he's actually now the top.
Is he the favorite now?
He is now in Vegas.
I don't know about that.
I didn't say I agree with it, Harrison. I'm just saying what Vegas says is he's top and Jalen is second.
Dude,
right now.
he's thrown for 3 touchdowns and had a passer rating over 148 for the 4th time this season. Only Brady and Rodgers in their MVP seasons did that. Like, that's crazy. 3 touchdowns and 148 passer rating, and he's Mr. Irrelevant. It's just like it's crazy.
Yeah, no, I'm aligned with you guys.
Harrison?
I love Brock Purdy. I haven't had any doubts about Brock Purdy as what he is. Like, he's a game manager, a good game manager. Like, there's nothing different than with Brady and Belichick. Obviously, championships, but maybe they can get to that if he stays in that same system. I think it just goes to show if you have the system in place, you have the pieces around you, you can win with any type of talented quarterback. Everyone gets enamored with all this talent and, Caleb Williams or Shedeur Sanders or all this talent coming out of the draft. But if you put them in the wrong situation, nothing's going to work either way. So he's in the right situation. He's talented. He makes the right reads and he's doing what he's supposed to do. So MVP is, most valuable player to a given team. I don't see that for him. But, he's doing his job. Doing.
Okay. Well, since we've already talked about that, there's no reason to talk about all 3 of our dubs because it's Niners for the 3 of us for one of them. But I'll just get right into my next dub here, which would be Texans. They went against a Broncos team that was hotter than fish grease. That was on a 5-game win streak going into this matchup. I even chose them to win the game, which they could have won the game. It literally came down to the last couple plays of the game for the Texans to pull it out. CJ has proven that he can stand in there and talk about MVP. He 100% should be in that top 3 of MVP race at this point in time for turning a team that none of us thought at the beginning of the season that they were going to be where they were at. I don't know anybody outside of any Texans fans, which, by the way, I know no Texans fans. I don't know anybody outside of them that would have thought that this would have been a successful year for them. At the beginning of this game, they lose Tank Dell. Screw me on fantasy, but I hope the young man is fine, which is a huge asset. But then Nico Collins absolutely goes off in this game for him. They've been winning by whoever the hot hand is of the game, which is absolutely phenomenal. And CJ continues just to sling the rock. But I haven't even talked about the defensive side is because they've also shut down teams that should technically on paper of what we've seen that they should lose to. But you have the likes of Stingley, you have Will Anderson out there, you have these young kids out there that are leading this. And it does definitely help to have a stud of a head coach that was a former great linebacker himself in D'Amico Ryans and bringing over that tenacity that they had in San Francisco. So I'm just, the stock is high for the Texans for me. So I truly appreciate what they're doing and it's a bright future for them.
Yeah, dude, just looking at their schedule really quick. look past games, they lost to the Jaguars by 3 in the division there. So they lost to Cardinals by 5. They lost to the Bengals, or they beat the Bengals. They lost to the Panthers by 2. That was a weird game. They lost to the Bucks by 2. Lost to the Saints by 7. Lost to the Falcons by 3. Or no, they beat the Saints. I'm sorry. I'm looking at 4 games here where they lost by like less than 4 points. It's insane. So yeah, we've been really high on this team all season, and we like the hiring in the offseason. We liked CJ, but we didn't expect this. I don't think the world expected this. And yeah, Tank Dell is a huge loss despite being 5'8" or whatever he is. Huge loss, broke his leg. So prayers up for him. But yeah, this offense still goes. It's crazy.
Well, speaking of go Pack go. That's your next pick. So
yeah, just big game at Lambeau Field. The Chiefs. Everyone made a big deal about Patrick Mahomes' first time in Lambeau. Well, Jordan Love had something to say about that. 11 TDs and 2 picks in his last 5 games, where he's 4-1. He had a huge night. It's Mahomes' 4th career loss in December. So now the Chiefs are no longer the top seed in the AFC. That goes to the Dolphins. And just Matt LaFleur, 16-0 in December.
Ooh, it's not bad.
16-0. That's not bad. That's not bad. And just watch out for the Packers. I already mentioned they're 4-1. They don't play another team with a winning record for the rest of the season.
Oh, wow, it's not bad.
So, Lions. I think clearly the Lions are in the driver's seat there, 9-3. But Packers are 6-6, and right now are the 7th seed in the NFC. So we'll see where that goes. But it kind of just shows, Hayes, you preach this a lot with kind of just patience, especially with young men under center, and certainly Jordan Love's had a lot of time in this league, but not a lot of reps, and it just kind of shows where he'll have his ups and downs, but he is on a tear right now. So yeah,
it's
funny, real quick. It's funny that
through the first, he has pretty much identical numbers as Aaron Rodgers did in his rookie year. So there has been talk at the beginning of this young kid can't do it, so on and so forth, blah, blah, blah. And again, to Sam's point that he just made, it's
patient. And this is a huge part for this young man,
is just give him time. He's sat behind Aaron. He learned he just needed to get a feel of it. And he's starting to show you exactly what he can do, which is why it seems that the Packers don't miss when it comes to drafting wide receivers and when it comes to drafting quarterbacks. So we'll see what happens. It's only 1 year. Technically, he's been in the league for several, but we'll see what happens going from there. Harrison, you have the Lions.
Yeah, I have the Lions. I like how they bounce back. Obviously, losing to the Packers on Thanksgiving, but bouncing back at a tough place to play. Obviously, the Superdome is always difficult, no matter how good or bad the Saints are. I just like how they just went in, handled business, got off to a 21-0 start, and kind of held on at the end. But I just continuing to prove people wrong about the Lions, including myself, who said in the season preview, "Hey, it's the Lions. Like, everyone relax." But sitting at 9-3. Got the Bears next. They got the Bears next, and they got the Broncos. They got the Vikings, then the Cowboys, and then the Vikings again. So they got a pretty good slate coming in. Obviously, some more chances to prove that they're for real, but I like the way that they handled their business on Sunday.
I like how Harrison started this off and showed his love to New Orleans because of his history, and he didn't say anything bad about them. The Saints suck right now. I'll say it for him since he can't. But no, the Lions are just a really, really good team, and they have a really, really good coach that the players resonate with, and it's showing and it's translating out there. And I can't give enough credit to this person. I've had conversations with people this season, and people still doubt this young man. But Jared Goff has been out there slinging the rock this season. So I do want to give him respect because I definitely have been one of his doubters. But he's got an opportunity to prove everybody wrong, and he's continued to do so. So, Sam, your L to start off is the Chiefs. You mentioned them a little bit earlier about the Packers beating them. What do you think is going on with the Chiefs, man?
Yeah, we talked a little bit about it. They need receivers that can catch the football. I mean, how many game-changing drops has MVS had? Now, look, there was a really weird situation at the end of the game where they were down by 8, and then Pacheco got tossed, right? And then there's these not penalties that should be penalty, and vice versa. So it was a crazy ending. The thing is, certainly it's interesting because now we're looking at a Patrick Mahomes Chiefs team with a very good defense. Jordan Love was just really good last night. But I think we'd all agree that the Chiefs defense is light years ahead of where we've seen them. It comes at, the expense of their offense. And I think they maybe just figured, okay, we can get guys in and the system will make them better. But you need to catch the football. You need to get separation. Maybe not having Bieniemy there is a bit of an issue as well. A lot more attention on Kelsey because of just how dominant he is and how you may not need to worry about the guys on the edges. Although I really like Rashee Rice. I think he's definitely
he's up and coming. Yep.
Sure. Definitely a name that will be around for a bit, I think. But yeah, so I don't, definitely not as dominant of a team, but they have one of the, best coaches and best quarterbacks in our generation, and you can't count them out. But right now, there's a lot of questions to be answered.
Is it just me? Well, you're both Jets fans, but does this not feel like the Patriots? Like the Patriots had some down years and they never really had they had always had a tight end or had one really good wide receiver for Tom. Tom was always willing these guys that are not the top tier guys, and they always had a good defense or serviceable defense with a Hall of Fame coach. It feels the exact same way, and they put all their eggs in a basket for Mahomes to be the guy to push them and Kelsey. But it's like you're watching, and it's saying to me, well, you paid Mahomes because you wanted to keep him because he's a generational talent, which is fine. You paid Kelsey because you wanted to keep Kelsey, but you let the best wide receiver in the NFL leave. And if that is not, just imagine what they would be doing with Tyreek still if they was on there. I know he in a recent interview, he said he felt like he was the third wheel in their relationship or whatnot. But they've got to be hurting from that, and I feel they're hurting from losing, as Sam said, Bieniemy. Like there's no doubt in my mind that those two things. I know Tyreek hasn't been there for a couple of seasons now, but they should have went out and did something during the trade deadline because they absolutely needed it to push against all those other teams in the AFC. So, yeah, it's weird.
I'd love to see T. Higgins on the Chiefs next year because he's not coming back to Cincinnati. They probably can't afford him. So
I would just love to see any competent wide receiver on the Chiefs. It's so disappointing. Like just kind of wasting Mahomes. No, they're not wasting it. They're fine. But it's just like they could be so much better. They could be dominant. Dominant.
Dude, I had that Patriots comp this morning. I thought of that. It's there's the on to Cincinnati years, right? It's not every year is you're gonna be the number one seed.
Yeah,
but
I see it a little different, as in obviously without Bieniemy, it's Mahomes is not the Patriots they were a system. Like with the Chiefs, it's like Mahomes is clearly the most talented quarterback in my opinion, that I've ever seen. From
I would agree,
arm talent, all that type of stuff. Like I think he's light years ahead of Brady from just like a football talent perspective. But what the Patriots had was obviously that system all around Brady and the support from Belichick, from whatever OC was there at the time. So I see it a little bit different. Like the Chiefs are solely relying on, I feel Mahomes is just talent on offense.
Well, to that, I would say, what have the Patriots done without Tom?
Nothing.
I would say that
lost a step too.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying to your point is I think it was Tom in those situations where it is Mahomes for
it's
sure.
all together. It's all
Yeah.
part of it together. Like you are there. Like where is the talent's here, but systems here. It's all has to match up. But I find the Chiefs' talent level is higher as quarterback, whereas Brady, like the system was matching him a little bit better. So
Fair.
it's similar.
That makes sense. Well, since we're talking about Tom's former, next L is the Patriots.
My L is solely just to tweak the Patriots a little bit. Obviously, as a Jets fan, it sucked watching them be so successful for so many years. So any chance I can get to kick them while they're down is just fantastic. Losing 6-0 is embarrassing. Not putting up a single point. Not a single point
against a Brandon Staley defense, by the way.
Not a single point.
Yeah.
So that's just really why I picked them, just to kind of dig the knife in a little bit, because 6-0, embarrassing.
Yeah. I think you speak for everybody outside of New England, because nobody outside of New England cares that the Patriots are losing right now. We watch you dominate the league for years, and now we are watching you just crawl up in misery into a fetal position, and I'm so happy about it every second of the way.
It's the end is always of these dynasties. It always happens. You don't get lucky to, most teams don't get lucky where it just continues. Like we're in the Packers in a way, right? Like it's clearly not the same team, but those generational quarterbacks and all of this. And now it's just seeing the end. I have a lot of Patriot fans. I lived and went to college in New England, and they're not having fun right now. And it's just kind of like, well, welcome to the party. I love it. Like here we are. They also they became the first team since 1938 to lose 3 games in a row with only allowing 10 points or less in each one of them. So I thought the Jets were bad offensively, this is a mess.
They still are.
Oh yeah, they are. Don't get me wrong. And if the draft was tomorrow, the Patriots are picking second. So never thought I'd see that, but here we are.
Well, hopefully they get Bill out of there so that Bill doesn't go and choose a fullback, trade back and try to get a fullback instead of getting Caleb or any of these other good guys, because that's exactly what Bill would do. I'm just I'm very, very happy because Patriots fans were cocky for quite some time.
Oh,
very, very cocky. So I don't feel any remorse for what we talk about here when it comes to the Patriots. I do feel.
Or they have a standing position as my L of the week, so I'll just keep them there.
There you go.
Okay. Well, that's Brandon Staley for me. It's in there. Yeah. It's not an L this week, but it's in there always, always until he gets fired. He's there. So just know, if I don't even say it, he's there, guys. L this week is for my birds. It was looking promising in the beginning, and by the beginning, I mean the first quarter, because everything after that, not so much. The offense looked stale in this game. The defense was Swiss cheese. It literally had all the holes in the world. And Sam has known me to slander Howie, and for a long time, I have not. But Howie has to take blame for this too. Because in the offseason, when we let a lot of good players, not we, I'm not on the Eagles. When the Eagles let a lot of defensive players go from that Super Bowl roster, you didn't fill up linebacker, which is finally for the first time last year was they filled up the linebacker void, and it worked great. Safety was also issued. They did well with that. They lost CJ. They lost TJ Edwards. They lost Kaiser. They lost Hargrave up front. Obviously, they got Jalen Carter, which is phenomenal for that. Still don't know how they did it, but Big Play Slay is looking like I make no play Slay. Bradbury is looking like Dingleberry, and I am just tired of watching what is happening on the back end, because it's the offense could at times keep them in the game, and sometimes I know the defense keeps them in the game. But at what point is Jalen the young man that says everything right says we still haven't played our best football, which I do truly believe because of what we saw last year. But at what point are we going to see that? Are you just going to magically pull out the best football in the playoffs where people play you even harder than they played you in the regular season? When is that going to come to fruition? So as a fan, but also a fan of football, is you're hearing, and I know they don't care about what everybody's saying on the outside looking in, but we're all seeing how closely you're winning these games. And it's, when are you going to be able to pull some games off and give yourself a cushion? If that's possible. It's a W is a W, but I know everybody wants to see, can the Eagles really do that? And they didn't do that this week against the Niners. They didn't. They've obviously beat the Bills. They beat the Chiefs. They beat the Cowboys. So that's 3 great teams that they were able to beat. But when are they going to have that statement game is what I'm, as a fan, looking for, just even outside of being an Eagles fan. So
a statement blowout game, you mean? Because I would say that Bills game.
The Bills game was definitely a statement game. Yes, for sure. It was more of a Jalen statement game saying, I hate how you call these games. I'm going to show you how it's done. But yeah, I'm waiting to see that statement blowout game. Yes, Sam, to clarify.
Yeah, it's just, again, it's kind of like the walls are closing in a little bit with that lead that you mentioned. You had the benefit of San Francisco losing 3 in a row. What's crazy is we're talking about the NFC team that went to the Super Bowl last year, and they only have 2 losses.
Yeah, I know.
We could talk. I mean, we could talk about schedule, strength of schedule, all this other stuff. The Vikings won so many one score games last year. Well, they won them. It's just it can't do anything about all of that. So I hate the whole schedule narrative and the injury narrative and all that.
Well, if they did want to talk strength of schedule narrative, the Eagles had the hardest schedule this year, so that should put people to rest about that. But continue, Sam.
Yeah, it was definitely challenging. Yeah, but what are you going to do? You just play who you play, and I mean we'll get to that too in the with the I almost called it the BCS, the college playoff. It's what are you going to do?
Yeah.
So.
Sam, you have Jamal Adams. You text me, and I was confused as hell about what the hell you were saying to me. And then I saw all the reports, and I was like, "Thank you for clarifying what my friend did." And I had no idea what the hell you were saying to me about Jamal Adams.
What did Jamal Adams do?
Go ahead, Sam.
So Jamal got lit up on Thursday against the Seahawks, or he is the Seahawk against the Cowboys.
Yes.
And
per usual,
Connor Hughes, who is now a reporter for SNY, but was formerly with The Athletic and was the Jets beat guy. I think he's still on the Jets beat. Clearly knows Jamal Adams was here when Jamal was drafted and the leader of our team. And so after the game, there's got to be something between the two of them. So Connor retweeted a video of Jamal getting lit up, and all it said was "yikes." That was the caption. And then later, or the next day, Jamal Adams posted a picture of Connor Hughes with his wife or fiance, and with the caption "yikes." So, and I saw a tweet. Someone tweeted Connor Hughes, and I shared this with our buddy Dave. And it said the only people allowed to slander Connor Hughes are Jets fans. And I just thought that was fair. So, you have bad blood with somebody, fine. How you don't like how you're being reported on, fine. Don't talk. Women and kids, wife and kids, families out of it. He deleted the tweet. Yeah, he deleted the tweet. Real quick, I always just heard about how great of a leader Jamal Adams was when he was drafted out of LSU. He was a captain and blah, blah, blah. He's not a leader. He's just loud. He's not passionate. He's just obnoxious. He's the fact that we got Garrett Wilson and Elijah Vera Tucker.
Yeah, you need to put some respect on his name because you got some great players out of it.
Yeah, for a box safety. I love it. Sign me up every day. It just pissed me off as someone, don't bring the family into it. That's all. Bye, Jamal.
Sam hates Jamal Adams as much as I hate Urban Meyer. I think it's pretty equivalent. I think it is. I think it's right up there, and that's saying a lot because I can't stand Urban Meyer.
No, I definitely hate Urban Meyer more.
Okay, so fair. We can stay with that. I'm fine with that. That works still. That works still.
Thanks for Garrett Wilson, John Schneider. See you later.
Well, I'm very curious why Harrison has the Cardinals as his L because of him fanboying for their quarterback. So the floor is all yours.
Stop winning. Why?
I love it. I was hoping this was the angle you were going to take with this.
Stop it. Like, get help. You need help. You need high draft picks. Stop winning.
Okay.
That's it. That's it.
Can I add something to that?
Yeah.
CC, New York Football Giants organization.
100%.
What are you doing, guys? What are you doing?
What are you doing? What are you doing? Stop
The
it.
Jets have a better draft pick right now than the Giants. Yeah. Cardinals are now third in the third pick if the draft was
priceless.
It's simple.
Thank you.
Just
That's
cut it
great,
out.
man.
Just cut it out. Just lose. Just lose.
Since you brought up Giants, Sam, I had a friend write me, slid in my DM before the Eagles-Niners game. And he is a heavy Giants fan. And he was like, I can't wait to watch the Niners beat the Eagles. They're going to beat the shit out of you, blah, 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 and all this stuff, right? And I was just like, how are you talking to me when the Giants have not done anything at all? You literally lost to the Eagles 3 times last year, and we haven't played you yet, but I'm sure they're going to beat you again. And he was like, yeah, well, we still got a chance. I said, a chance for what? The playoffs. I said, okay, I'm done talking to you. He said, we're in third place. I said, okay, so I guess that's the standard now, is to live up for your team to be in third place. People, stop being delusional. If your team's out of it, don't talk to teams that are really in it. I understand they're your rival. Just take a seat. Just take a seat. Like Chris Hansen would tell you. Take a seat.
The Tommy DeVito vibes are strong here. And, people, and look, it's kind of crazy that the undrafted free agent is connecting more than your $40 million quarterback, but here we are.
Danny Ducks. Speaking of Ducks, the Jets have nobody to throw any ducks. They don't have anybody to throw anything. They got a quarterback that miraculously is coming back from an ACL injury and can just throw the football all of a sudden, and he thinks he's going to play with a O-line that is absolutely horrendous. You have the rumors of Zach Wilson. Now they want to start Zach Wilson again, and apparently he is reluctant to play. Robert Saleh, before we came on and recorded, apparently said that that's not true because he wouldn't be on this team if that was the case. Good job, Robert. You keep shielding the boy. I get it. Boyle, he boiled over, didn't he? That wasn't too great. And at what point does this defense just say, you know what? You can put in the second stringers because we're just going to sit out the rest of the season because we're not going to waste our defensive talent on whatever you're putting out in this field, because they have one of the best defenses in the league. Thank you for fantasy points. Appreciate you every week. But they have one of the best defenses in the league, and they can't even be put on the pedestal that they should be because the offense doesn't even show up. And what I mean by the offense doesn't even show up, when's the last time they scored a touchdown, Sam? It's been a while. Offensively.
The 1998 AFC Championship.
Okay, there we go. Exactly.
Vinny T, baby.
Nathaniel Hackett. I don't know. It's probably accurate. Nathaniel Hackett, you are what Sean Payton said you were, and this is not paid out at all. I just don't know what happened. I know they came out earlier last week, essentially saying that everybody on the staff is essentially going to keep their job because Aaron went down, which Sam and I talked about a couple weeks ago, that would probably be the fair way to do this, to give them a fair chance of, hey, listen, you didn't have what we thought you were going to have. But newsflash, you guys didn't have an O-line, even if Aaron was there, which is probably one of the reasons he tore his Achilles. So make sure you address that over the offseason because people actually want to see the Jets do well. I want to see the Jets do well just on this nice little plane on the Jets. and then when they just falter, I can hold them and catch them and say it's going to be all right, Sam. That's it.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Not Harrison though, just me.
I'm fine.
No, because Harrison he's going to choose another team at some point before the season's over. So absolutely not him. Absolutely not him. So that's just the history of him.
Let's go Niners.
But yeah.
He's like, Sam Darnold is now on the Niners, so I'm going to pick the Niners.
Oh God, Lord. Yeah, he was also on the Panthers and wherever else he was on. Let's get to the power rankings. At 5, because they didn't play this week, is the Ravens. They stayed right where they were. They would have moved up, but I don't think it's fair because they didn't play. But they definitely would have been ahead of the Chiefs for me at this point, and they might still be in my mind. But just because they didn't play, I'm going to keep them where they're at. Chiefs dropped from 2 all the way down to 4.
It's like a Georgia situation.
They well, no, because they've lost more games than Georgia. Okay. Georgia's only lost 1 game, which I can't wait to talk about that. But the Chiefs, they just don't. We've talked about it. They just don't look like the Chiefs at this point, and I feel that teams have pretty much played them and are not scared of them as they once were. They've played them straight up and say, "Yeah, well, we got firepower too," and it's shown in all these games. And they have the Bills coming up this Sunday, or is it Monday? No, it's they're Sunday during the day, I think, because the Eagles play Monday night against the Cowboys.
Bills at Chiefs are a late Sunday game, yeah, late Sunday afternoon. Okay. Yeah.
So that's a huge game to see what they could be or what they are. I mean, for both teams, it's a huge game. So we'll see what they turn out or what they turn out on the field, because it's not looking good. At 3, the Lions. The Lions stayed right where they were. They obviously got blown out on Thanksgiving, which I don't think any of us thought was going to actually happen the way that happened. But they bounced back, even though it was against the Saints. They still bounced back because, as Harrison said, the Saints have and always will have a good defense. As long as I've watched the Saints, they've always had a good defense. They have some hitters on the team. But the Lions are doing what they should be doing, and they have built up a phenomenal team. So I love what's happening there. 2, it hurts my soul to say it, but the Eagles are at 2. Even though they are still the number 1 seed, they've only lost 2 games. To me, when you get blown out by a team like that, and they're in contention with you, and then you have an opportunity to shut people down, you're not going to win all the games, but the Eagles are at 2 for me. And it's by a little bit, because there's still a chance to obviously they're still the number 1 overall in the league, best record, but that showing was not great. But for the number 1 team, the showing was great for them, and that's the Niners. They've stomped the mud hole in both the Cowboys and the Eagles, 2 people that they are going to definitely have to see at least one of those teams, and possibly both, depending on how this plays out at the end. They just look like they're clicking on all cylinders at this point in time. There's not one hole that I see on that team. And that's scary to see that they've been playing, even after that 3-game losing streak, they've come back and just basically said, yeah, no, we're still here and we're still coming for the top. So that is my power ranking for this week. Gentlemen, have at it. Thank you.
I've brought this up a couple times. I don't know what the answer is. I just don't know where the Cowboys factor into this. They had some injuries on their defense. I think Dak's playing better than he's ever played. I mean, he's having a great season. CeeDee Lamb is, looking like the potential that he always had here, and he's always been a great receiver. He's on top of the world. I just don't know where the Cowboys kind of would fit into this. Thinking about it myself, if I were to make my own, it's a interesting puzzle piece.
So when I thought about this, because I do feel that they should be in the top 5. The way that they've been playing, and they just beat their first team that's over 500. I know everybody's talking about it. They did beat the Seahawks. But to your point, Dak has been absolutely phenomenal. CD has been phenomenal. So if anything that I were to do, I would possibly put them at 4 and move the Chiefs out. And that's a hard. That's what I'm saying. Like it's really hard to move and maneuver at this point in time. Like they're flirting. If I put the Cowboys in, they're either 4 or 5. And the Ravens have consistently been proving that they are hard out. And the Chiefs are the Chiefs with Mahomes. So it's just like,
yeah, it's a crazy thing.
it's hard.
You would move the Chiefs out, and up until the start of or the end of yesterday's game, they were the number 1 seed in the AFC. So it's like it's just a
it's hard. Thing. It's really hard.
I'm not criticizing you. We've had this conversation for weeks now. It's just, we've been fooled by this Cowboys team for so long, and they've had some embarrassing losses throughout their recent memory. And Dak had an awful year last year by his own standards, by just any standards. But I want to believe that they're just playing really well. Clearly, we said it at the top. Here's the test, right? Sunday night. It's going to be the biggest game of the year so far. Yeah,
at home against your rival. Yep.
Yeah. So we'll see there. But
I think aside from the Cowboys, I would have the Dolphins having a better case for cracking that top 5 than the Cowboys. But that's just my opinion, and I don't. Yeah. At all. I think those Dolphins and Cowboys are the 2 teams that are just like right on the outside, but definitely could be in there. But I think you got the 5 pretty right.
Thank you. The Dolphins were also a thought, but then I thought about who like the Dolphins lost to, right? That are in there. And it's just like I try to think of those big players, but it's just like they lost to the Bills, but then the Bills aren't really the Bills, right? You know what I mean? Like, but then they lost to the Eagles. It's so hard to do this at this time, especially with only 5. I should start making it 10, but whatever. I'll just keep it at 5. Sam, what's our records right now for our picks?
Well, we didn't have a show in week 12. We all went 9-5.
Okay.
And last week I miraculously made up the games that I was behind. I think I was two wins behind you. I went 10-2. You went 7-5, and the Instagrammers, our friends on Instagram who vote, went 9-3. So for the year, I have a 2-game lead, if you will. Now, 122-75. You're at 120-77, and our friends at Instagram have 112 wins. So,
again, friends from Instagram, you should probably start listening to us.
Pick it up,
just
Instagram.
Saying.
Get it together.
Yeah, please. Let's get into week 14 picks. Teams that are on bye: Arizona and also the Commanders. And the Commanders should probably just go on bye for the rest of the season. Thursday night football: Pats at Steelers. We all have the Steelers. Sunday, Texans at Jets. Wait. We all have Texans.
Pats and Steelers.
Yes.
So that's Thursday night football. So they broke the streaming record last week. This one won't.
Bailey Zappi versus Mitchell Trubisky. Barn burner.
Yeah, that's
all I got. Keep going.
That's fair. That's fair. Rams at Ravens. We all have Ravens. Panthers at Saints. All Saints. Colts at Bengals. Both Sam and Harrison have the Colts. I have the Bengals. The reason why I have the Bengals is just because of their talent that they still have out there. I just don't know who their quarterback is going to be this week. So whatever. And the Colts just seem to keep winning. So, I mean, I just did it really because you both chose the Colts. Why do you have the Colts? Both of you.
I think the Colts been playing pretty well, and they've been in a lot of close games. Gardner Minshew, they lost Jonathan Taylor, but Zach Moss has done a great job in his absence for most of the year. And I just think the Colts are just playing better now. Of course, yeah, you mentioned it. I mean, Jamar Chase is one of the best, and the line's pretty good, and that Cincinnati defense has a lot of questions. And the biggest question is, not sure Jake Browning is an NFL quarterback. He was phenomenal in college. Remember him at Washington, but I just don't think they're going to be able to score points.
Okay, Harrison.
Minshew mania.
There you go.
Okay, fair enough.
Shit.
Bucks at Falcons. Falcons. We all have Jags at Browns. Jags. Lions at Bears. We all have the Lions. The late Sunday afternoon game. Seahawks at Niners. We all have the Niners. Vikings at Raiders. Sam and I both have the Vikings. Harrison has the Raiders. Why do you have the Raiders?
Home team. Both teams very comparable. That's it.
Okay, that's fair.
Similar.
That's fair. Broncos at Chargers. We all have Broncos. Bills at Chiefs.
Sam
has.
I have the Chargers. I don't know why.
Oh, you do have the Chargers. Yeah.
I don't know why. Don't know why.
Fine.
Okay.
Yep. Don't know
Bills at Chiefs. Sam, you have the Bills. Why do you have the Bills?
I don't know. They were
Okay.
off this week. They played. I know they lost the Eagles game. I still think they played really well, and I just think the Bills can put up points a lot more efficiently than the Chiefs can. We've seen that, and I just think that may be the X factor in this is just being able to score more points, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I was torn. I was torn a little bit on that one too. I mean, the Bills have a week off and they need to win. Like they have to win. And I really wanted to pick the Bills as well. I just think they're just better and at home. So that's what I went with.
Well, I chose the Chiefs because Mahomes doesn't lose back-to-back games.
Yeah.
And that is what they just did. So Eagles at Cowboys. You both have the Cowboys. You can both kick rocks. Go Birds. Monday Night Football. Packers at Giants. If any of you chose the Giants, I would have told you to never come back to the podcast, and that would have been that. No, we're not doing that for him. Let's get into college football.
Yes.
So this has been a topic. We haven't talked about it much on here, but we've been paying attention. I vowed to myself to not watch any Penn State games going forward until James Franklin is fired. But that's a whole nother thing. But we now have what the playoffs are set. This is the exact reason as to why they are expanding the teams in the playoffs. And this season should show exactly why. So Michigan at 1, and they're facing Alabama at 4. You have Washington at 2, and they're facing Texas at 3. Now, the two teams that are left out of here is Georgia, that had a immaculate win streak, that lost one game against Alabama, who had already lost one game this year themselves. And then you have FSU that went 13-0 and have continued to win even after Travis Benjamin, right? Or Jordan, right? Jordan Travis, right? After he went down in that gruesome injury, they continue to win with backup quarterbacks. They're 13-0 and they're not in the playoffs. Harrison, you seem like you have a lot that you wanted to say about this, so I'm going to let you have at it first.
I don't have a lot. I just find the debate really interesting. Like, some people want some teams in and some teams out, and then it's like, well, who would you take out? So I mean, I feel bad for FSU, but also like you're not the SEC, and I feel bad for Georgia, but how can you let Georgia in, and who do you take out? So I just find it fascinating, like that we've gotten to this point, because the system obviously is kind of flawed. Yeah. Anytime it's not down to like the competition on the field, or that it's going to be flawed and it's going to have holes. And I just find it really, really interesting how we found ourselves in this position 1 year away from having 12 teams. But this year is the most obviously egregious one when you have an undefeated team that doesn't get in. So just interesting watching, the banter around it on social media and all that. So I'm okay with this 4. I think Georgia, it sucks that Georgia's not in it. They're like 30-1 in their last whatever stretch.
Don't make too much sense to me on that one.
Defending national champions, like that's tough that they can't get in. But that's the difficulty of playing in the SEC and having an SEC championship game, and getting your spot bounced because you lost by 3 points. So it's tough. It's tough, and we won't. I don't think we'll see the best teams in there. I think Georgia's the best team, or one of the best teams, along with Bama. Michigan's okay, or no, they're really good, but
No, Michigan's really
they're really good.
Yeah.
But in the conversation of like Alabama and Georgia and the SEC teams, I think they'll get beat by both. So I guess
I
we'll
think so
see.
too.
We'll see 1 versus 4. But yeah,
I don't. First off, I want the team in here that I want to give the biggest shout out to is the Huskies. What they have done it's if you haven't watched their story, if you haven't watched the quarterback story or don't know anything about it, take some time to just read about what has been going on there. It's damn near fairy tale type stuff. They've worked hard to get where they've gotten, but it's really good. Michigan, they definitely have been the number one team. When with Georgia losing, they literally slid right into that point. And I've watched them play. They've beat Ohio State. They've beat Penn State. They've beat a lot of really good teams throughout the year. But I also agree with you, Harrison, and I have felt this way for quite some time. Is if you don't play in the SEC and then you play the SEC in the playoffs, you're getting smacked.
Yep.
And that's normally what happens. And we watched it last year. What was it with the
TCU?
TCU?
Yep.
Yeah.
Cincinnati the year before that.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's just kind of I'm eager to see the 12 teams. I think that's going to be really, really fun because even though there's still going to be somebody that's going to get snubbed, still somebody's going to still feel that's their team didn't make it. But out of 12 teams, I really don't want to hear it. Like, it's just like it is what it is with 12 teams. But I feel at that point in time, it gives us, depending on how they break it down, which I'm intrigued to see how that is going to give us more football and I guess more meaningful college football, even though every game means something. Just seeing the playoffs and seeing these teams like kind of go at it. As a sports fan, I'm looking forward to it. But I'll say this closing out. To Harrison's point, even though FSU was 13-0, I want to know who they really played throughout the whole year.
They beat LSU.
Because strength of schedule does mean something in college football. It means a lot in college football. Unlike in the NFL, it means something in college football. And they deserve all the glory in the world for going 13-0. But to Harrison's point, I don't take any of those teams out and put FSU in. I just don't. And that's hard to say.
So yeah, I give my 2 cents here. I think FSU is out for all the reasons just mentioned, that they don't want to see them get blown out on a huge bowl game on New Year's Eve or whenever it is. So I think it just kind of comes down to that and not having Heisman contender who's done. And I know they're on their third string quarterback. I just think there's probably just from a marketing or kind of standpoint of liability there, right? Where you have other big name programs with Washington's playing really well. We don't normally see them in here, but that's great. And hey, to your point too, we see it with March Madness, right? Who got snubbed, who's on the bubble, who's out. Having a top 4, a top 6, it's a little more like what the hell than having a top 12.
Yep.
I don't care about number 13 or 14 at that point, but I can't let Georgia in here when it's kind of been the same formula the whole time, right? It's when you lose. It's who you lose to, but it's when you lose. I think there'd be a lot of issue with an SEC title loser like in the playoff, and then like Alabama's not in it. Because that's when it matters.
It's kind of just comes down to Texas beating Alabama. So it's like,
if
that doesn't happen, you can let 2 SEC teams in there over a Big 12 winner like Texas, which doesn't have a great resume outside of beating Alabama.
Correct.
And then, a lot of people are going to say, take Washington out, but they beat 4 top 20 teams this year. And they are very good and they're for real. I don't know how they'll stack up against Big 12 or an SEC team. Pac-12 is different. It's not as strong, but they earn the right to be there. And then the same thing with FSU. It's just like, they'll get their chance. They'll play Georgia. They play Georgia in, I don't know, whatever bowl that is. So if they beat Georgia and 14-0, they can claim their own national championship. Many teams have done that before. So, yeah, we'll see. I don't think they're going to beat Georgia. I think they're going to get stomped out by Georgia, and we'll this whole conversation will end with the right 4 teams are probably in there.
Yeah. It's well. Soon we won't have to even have that conversation. So I'll be very, very happy about that.
I would say too,
you
next year, but also like those will probably be 2 or 3 lost teams, so they'll have chances to kind of prove themselves. But then at the sense, like you don't want to go too big either, because obviously college football, like every game does matter, and the more teams you let in, that regular season means less and less. And college football as a product, it's okay, football wise. It's not at the top, it's very good. At the bottom, it's not.
It's not great.
So, you still want those games to mean something. Like Alabama, Georgia, that game meant everything because it was essentially a playoff game to get into this championship.
Yeah. It's unfortunate we don't get to see them both in there, because I would have loved to see that as the national championship game. That would be great again. Yeah. Let's get to NBA real quick. LeBron, Ime Udoka. It's very funny. I just wanted to bring it up and hear this exchange that they've had. There's a couple B words thrown around. Some people are too soft. Moral of the story is LeBron got a tech, stayed in the game. Ime got his second tech, got thrown out of the game. What was your thoughts on this interaction? Because my thoughts was it was just hilarious, the whole thing.
Yeah, just kind of funny. Ime's like just wilding. Like, what is he like? Relax, my guy. Did you see the audio from it today? Yeah, the audio came out.
I did.
I just find NBA fights so funny, man, because none of them are just actually going to put hands on each other. So, like, you have the protection of just saying wild stuff.
Only Draymond.
Whenever you want.
Yeah. Draymond will put his hands on you for sure.
My favorite part is, like, I follow this LeBron fan account on Instagram, and they found all the clips of LeBron just absolutely cooking Ime when they were playing. So.
Oh, that's great.
He's got some beef, I think. So
it's it's very interesting, because I saw Sports Illustrated go back to 2007. I was just like, Ime wasn't I was like, they're talking about him playing at that time. I was like, you're not slick. I like it though. I like it. Yeah,
LeBron gave that man work.
LeBron gave everybody that guarded him work. Are you kidding me? Everybody gets work from him.
He's held that.
Even now
for a long time, apparently.
Clearly. So let's talk about the in-season tournament that I've watched very little of, which I've heard nothing but great things. Though I feel that the reception has been well received of what this has been. It says players have been playing. It seems like the competition level has been risen. So today, when we're recording, is the first portion of this final part of the tournament, the actual bracket. So it's today, when we're recording it, the 4th for those that are on YouTube, and then the 5th is the second part. This is the quarterfinals that we have, and then you have on the 7th is the semifinals, and then on the 9th, which is Saturday, is the championship game. So tonight, when we're recording, is Celtics at Pacers. So Celtics are the number 1 seed, correct? Mm-hmm. The Bucks are number 1 seed at this point in time. Celtics are 3 seed, Pacers are 2 seed, and then Pelicans at Kings. Pelicans 3 seed, Kings 2 seed, and then Tuesday, Knicks, who are the 4 seed, are playing the number 1 seed Bucks, and then the Suns 4 seed are playing the number 1 seed Lakers on Tuesday. So these all sound like great games. Just to give you guys some information, if you didn't listen to the previous or several podcasts ago when we kind of laid this out, the way that this works out is, now I lost my train of damn thought. With this is, so the championship game does not count towards the regular season. All these other games that are playing up to it are a part of the regular season, but the championship game is the only game that does not count towards the regular season. So to be very, very clear. So shout out to whoever did the schedule for the NBA, because this is very, very, they had to move this in some sort of way and have this play out that way. But this is pretty damn cool.
So what happens? Because clearly, when they made the schedule and everyone gets 82 games, what happens now that the Pacers are in this tournament, where a team where you probably wouldn't think would be there, right? So what? How are they playing a couple less games since those games count?
No.
They're gonna play more.
No, they'll
Just
Like
playing their regular
official
amount.
games, so they're going to play 85 games this year, 84 or whatever.
no,
it's the regular amount of games.
they'll move around. So like Pacers and Celtics are playing. So whenever they were scheduled next later on in the year, they'll move.
Oh, okay. Is that,
yeah.
yeah. So you screw all the fans that bought tickets to Pacers Celtics.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Well,
I
I'm sure
understand.
they'll.
I was just trying to figure out how. Figure out how that works.
It's basically the NBA's equivalent of flexing a game. It's essentially that for this. But I'm assuming that if you bought tickets to the game and you'll have tickets to when it's played later on or whatever the case may be. But I will absolutely be watching this now that it's in the tournament portion because I want to see who's going to win this championship to be the first to do that. And if one big takeaway that I have to say that I love about this whole thing is the courts. I absolutely love the courts. Like, it's so fun seeing this, and then also the different jerseys that go with them too. Like, it's really, really fun seeing this creativity go on. But also the games that I have watched have seemed more competitive than normal. But I mean, we know this because most regular season games, especially in the beginning of the season, it's kind of like, okay, we're playing. Yeah, we're just going to coast through, and then we're going to get to a point we got to get to. So,
well, I know point differential. Point differential is a big thing, right? So the end of the games tend to be like wild.
Yes,
that was the group play portion. So that was a little odd. Okay. I think they need to find a different way to do that. But yeah, and there's nothing like one and done. So now we're in the one and done portion. I'm excited. Like, obviously, tons of casual NBA fans don't tune in till Christmas, and we're in the beginning of anything that gets people to watch some just basketball earlier. Is a win for me. So I'm excited. These games sound like they're gonna good matchups. It's gonna be a lot of fun. So I'll be watching.
There's a lot of exciting basketball in December. To Harrison's point, like, you're having a championship game on the 9th, and then you have one of the biggest excitements of NBA basketball, which is the Christmas games. So you have that right around the corner. So this is December is big for the NBA this year. I like this a lot. So
kudos Adam Silver, man. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I've talked about it for years, having like a cup system like the Premier League and like all the soccer clubs have over on the other side. Like, it just creates just sphere. You get to switch it up a little bit. 82 games gets monotonous. Like, it's just a lot of games and the same things over and over again. So anytime you can just like inject something new and switch it up a little bit, I'm all for it.
Agreed.
Yeah, I was gonna say just kudos to Adam Silver for you mentioned the unofficial kickoff of the NBA season's Christmas, and we we're all in front of TV watching all day, but try to get some excitement early on in the season here and go up against the NFL. Now the NFL has some Christmas games and all of that, and that's just because it's on a Sunday, but just go up against it. Also, for these 18, all the other teams, they have a week off. So, if you're not, you could also just be like, I just want a week off.
They still play regular season. So, like,
do they?
Yeah. So,
then never mind.
Yeah, because
they just have the All-Star break.
They play the other teams that didn't make it. So, like, the schedule makers move around.
Gotcha.
Stuff.
Okay. I didn't know that part.
Kudos to the schedule makers.
Kudos.
That's what I'm saying. The schedule maker, they 100% get all the kudos. I hope they get a bonus for changing and doing all these damn things.
A lot of moving parts. A lot of moving parts.
Yeah. Sam, you have some MLB here. Some Ohtani news and some news for us as Yankee fans. So let's get to that.
Yeah. So rumor has it, speculation that Shohei Ohtani, the most coveted free agent ever, maybe, is rumored to sign this week. A lot of teams in the mix. I've heard a lot of teams, bowing out here. Blue Jays are trying to make moves. The Braves, Dodgers in it, even the Angels, just wanted to get your thoughts where you think he's what do you think happens with the Shohei sweepstakes? And
If he doesn't
don't
go
know.
back to the Yankees, I pray he goes back to the Angels because that would just be comedy, just straight comedy for me. Just go back to the Angels at that. I know. I really don't. As a Yankee fan, that this would bring me back completely to the forefront of Yankee fandom. Sam, as you know, I talk to you all the time about prospects and who we're high on, and which we're going to get to in a second, but or at least I'll make a comment about in a second. But I'm intrigued to see where he goes because I honestly have no idea where he is going to go. I can't even give you a team. I know he mentioned earlier in this that he wanted to go to a place that he's like kind of not. He's a very private person, but I can see him going to a smaller market team because if he's saying that he doesn't want to be around, like the Angels are perfect because they're not a big market team. But all the other teams that are going to pay him the money that he probably wants are going to be large market teams that media is going to be in your face and your privacy is going to be non-existent.
He's in LA. I mean, it's Anaheim, but it's still like
yeah, but
they don't care about baseball as much. Sure, if you want to make that point, but
Anaheim.
I don't know.
Anaheim's out there.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. It's not LA. Like if he's at the Dodgers, like they're gonna be up his ass everywhere he goes. And Anaheim, they don't follow you around. Like Mike Trout was there, and he has still been there, and they don't follow him like that. So I feel it would still be the same thing. But going to the Yankees, going to the Mets, going to the Dodgers, going to any big team like that, I feel like that privacy is going to be non-existent for him.
That's why.
But I mean, wherever he goes, kudos to him.
I'm kind of with you on that. That's why my vote. I think he ends up on the Braves, or the Cubs because they're big markets, but not too big, but also still very good. So I think that's where he ends up. My vote's for the Braves. I could be completely wrong, but
if he goes to the Braves, good God, good God.
Yep.
Can you imagine that? Just
that lineup is ferocious if he goes to the Braves.
Yeah.
Ugh,
That's the thing too.
What do you think?
I think he wants to win too. So that I mean, where better can you go?
Well, I was hoping Mike Trout would have took that same train of thought and took his ass to the Phillies, but he decided to stay and take the bag in Anaheim where he's going to deteriorate. But Sam, what do you think?
I love Mike Trout. Love Mike Trout. He's already deteriorating.
It's true.
It's sad that just a lot of back injuries, soft tissue injuries. It's not great.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly have no idea. I kind of thought it would just be the Dodgers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to act like I know much about him or his personal life. I've read the stuff about, he certainly is a private person. It could just be that, he's on a team and he doesn't speak great English, or he's Japanese. So it's like maybe he's just quiet because I don't know. I just think the Dodgers are always in play,
Mm-hmm.
especially with just being who they are and opening the checkbook. It would be hilarious if he goes back to Anaheim. I don't think they're going to pay him though. I just think the New York teams are out.
Yeah.
So
I remember those days when one particular New York team was always in. Miss those days. Speaking of that New York team, you got some news for a potential trade, Sam? Maybe.
Yeah. So the Yankees and the Padres were exchanging names for Juan Soto, and then I read that it kind of stalled. But Soto mentioned recently he knows he's going to get traded. It's a matter of when, and he wants to go to the Yankees. So that's great. You imagine an outfield with a healthy Jason Dominguez, Aaron Judge, and Juan Soto.
We like that.
Lefty bat.
We love that.
It would be something else. So I think it ultimately gets done. It's just kind of the names being thrown around. It's certainly Michael King, Clark Schmidt, and a bunch of prospects. But
I don't like King being in there.
I don't either.
Schmidt, you can get rid of. Don't put Thorpe in there. I would be so upset about that. Pretty much everybody else outside of King and Thorpe, and obviously you don't touch the Martian can go. I care less about that. Throw in Giancarlo too, please. Just get him in that package somehow, some way. Ship him out. because I would be absolutely okay. But I read that they like those names that you mentioned, Sam, and essentially like they wanted like 7 prospects, so they're basically gutting the Yankees farm system, which I absolutely don't like. But if it's going to be handled the same way Cashman has been handling it in the past few years anyway, that means he's just going to let these guys rot in whatever AAA, AA, single A anyway. So
I think with the, King has proven to be a really dominant setup guy and
Agreed.
transition really well to the rotation. I'm saying we're all Yankee fans, going to need guys to eat up innings. Now Severino's gone. He's never really healthy, but still there's that. There's a question mark on Rodon. Do they bring back Frankie Montas, who's a free agent, didn't even really pitch for them? Really.
Well, if they don't bring back Frankie, he's going to go to another team, and then he'll be in the playoffs.
Yeah, like Sonny Gray
or World Series, because
yeah.
that seems to be the case for any Yankees pitcher.
Yeah, so I think there's a concern of like, and Clark Schmidt was certainly up and down, has pitched a lot better this year than in years past, but isn't consistent. But again, 8 up innings. So I think there's got to be more moves after that. My hesitation, I love prospects. I'm a big like prospect guy. I would be fine with all of it, but to have Juan Soto for a year and not really know if you're going to have him after that, he'd be a fool not to go to the open market, especially after what Judge got or what Shohei will get. And not that, clearly he's the same player, but he is a 2023 Frank Robinson. Like, he is this good of a player. I do have some concerns too about the culture of the Padres. I mean, it kind of seemed like it always, whenever I'd watch a Padre game, it's like they pan to the dugout and it's Machado, Tatis, and him laughing, and they could be down by a couple runs. I've seen it multiple times. There's a lot of questions about what went on in San Diego. I hope that's all just kind of really bad narratives and really bad just kind of reporting, because Juan Soto is a difference maker.
Well, with that said, Harrison, what's your thoughts on this?
It's too early for baseball.
I mean, I agree.
No, I would love Juan Soto.
My friend Sam loves baseball.
No, I it would be a left-handed bat, a big time player. Like, why? That's something you want. Even if he's leaving, no, he won't leave. He seems to want to be a Yankee. You play well. I mean, Yankees got to open the checkbook up every once in a while still. So I don't see why they wouldn't. So I like it. I like it. If we can get him, that'd be a great get.
I agree. Well, that said, thank you, Harrison. As he mentioned, he will be here more often. Yep. Sam, we are no longer a union, so just close us out, please, because this will be our last time together.
I thought we got aligned. I thought we worked some things out.
I told you before, we are not aligned anymore. The alignment is off. We need to go to some dealership to realign this car because it's off now.
I'll hook you up. I know something.
I got a guy.
I know a guy.
I got a guy. No, Harrison, thanks so much, Brandon. It's nice seeing you again.
Yeah, whatever.
We'll see you next week. Thanks so much for listening. Episode 117 in the books. Thanks for watching and tell your friends. Till next time, peace.
Friends, I need you to...
We're still going.
He still does this.
Yeah, I still do this. Friends, I need you to control your other friends that are in the fan base that you share. The stuff that you people put on these forms of social media is absolutely getting ridiculous. I understand that you love your team, but being blind to what is right in front of your face it's going too far. I don't want to bring up any prime examples to put anybody out there, but let's stop thinking that your team really has a chance when they don't. Or let's stop talking about other teams when your team doesn't have a chance anymore, statistically. Let's just stop talking bad to other people and acting as if you have a chance to change the outcome of the game, because you don't. All right. I'm sorry, guys.